It's in fact a very proud moment for me as a friend. I've been watching Konglo's growth on the sidelines in the beginning, and now quite actively involved in whatever they're doing as well. So we have a very diverse crowd. We have a few investors, startup founders, our friends, family. I mean, people who we really think have played a really important role in taking this thought of Konglo to where it is. So, what is the real purpose of this event? Right? So usually we see a lot of these events are centered around founders, their stories, and so on. But it's also very important to understand the stories of people who are backing these founders. And Vinod always says this. Okay, when you invest in stock markets, it's mainly to make money. You want to invest and want to make a return in 2 months, 3 months, and so on. But then when you invest in startup, it's mainly not just, the objective is not just to make money, but also to contribute back to the nation. It's more of a emotional thing which involves giving employment, helping a founder solve a cause which is sometimes very difficult, which will have an impact on a lot of people's lives and so on. So their stories have to be really told. And Konglo's stories is exceptionally important from my perspective, because I run a small business which involves speaking about entrepreneurship and trying to track the wealth creation stories in the country. And I really believe, having seen the wealth creation story in the nation, the next wealth creation wave is going to be driven by entrepreneurs, investors, and professionals. So professionals are going to play a very huge role. India is going to witness one of the biggest intergenerational wealth transfer in the next 10-15 years, which means a lot of professionals will take a center stage in terms of managing a company, which involves a lot of them making a lot of money and eventually giving back to society in terms of investment. But in 2012, 13, when Vinod and Vinmo and the one guy called Robin was not here, when they decided to start Konglo, at that time, we weren't making much money as professionals, right? We were starting a journey, a professional career, and so on. So at that time, they had this bold thought of how do we, with whatever little money we have, how do we really start investment? So even if it's 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs, how can we be a part of a grand journey of a founder? It always stood like a big enigma, a startup investment, angel investment. It's only reserved for people who've got a lot of money and so on. It is at that point that Vinod and Vinmo and Robin came together to set up this concept of getting professionals together and mobilize investments in startups. So that's really commendable and brave in any sense. I'm sure the discussions that they could be having with the family, convincing their friends, literally they'll be taking all their savings from their pocket and trust it and give it to a bunch of people who they met possibly once or twice, right? So that's quite a commendable thing to do. And from there, it has moved to a network over 80 plus, almost 100 investors, syndicating about 7 to 8 million US deals. It's quite commendable, right? So for me, what we know this and Vinmo and the rest of startup is really a movement in terms of professionals in Kerala coming together and starting an investment journey. And this is going to really seed into something big, which would have a bigger impact when these professionals make money as part of the wealth creation process, and they also would contribute much bigger ticket size into startup investments. So this is really the context, and I'm really proud that as a friend and as I'm really proud of seeing what they've achieved so far. And this today is all about sharing their story, and when they share these stories, if we can inspire some of us to be more active into investing and possibly get inspired, that's the whole point of today. So at this point, I want to really give a round of applause to 3 entities, so to speak, right? The first and the foremost, the families of Vinod and Vinmo was here, who was Anu, Tara, Ajman Uncle, Jose Uncle. If you can give a big round of applause to without you guys giving the note, right, they would not have done it. I know that for a fact. So that's a big credit to you guys. I also want to call out a couple of people here who's here with us and who's been playing a very important role in mobilizing the startup movement in Kerala. One is, this is again my personal opinion, okay? I really want to call out Kamath who's here. Kamath, can I say quickly? Who's taken risks in founders at a point we go, what the hell, how does he even do it, that kind of situation. So Kamath, you played a major role in inspiring us to get into angel investing. I also would like to call out Roshan, who's here from Madhubhumi, and I would like to, it's all unspecified. I think Roshan has played a very, very important role. Even if you make a small ticket investment or a startup founder has like a small achievement, he just talks about in the newspaper. That really gives a lot of motivation to these startup founders. So, having said all this, I would like to welcome all of you guys, and let's make this whole process very interactive. Vinod and Vineet are they going to speak about their journey, their story. Please ask a lot of tough questions. I'm going to ask a lot of tough questions, especially with a couple of things it could be even tougher. So please ask all these questions, and there is no media here except Roshan. I hope you only report the good things that happen. There's nothing else here. So ask all the tough questions, and they'll be as candid as possible about their journey. And I'm really eager to know more in terms of what they've done and what they've been through in the last 10, 11 years. So while I invite them to the stage, a big round of applause and congratulations to Vinod.
Thanks, Anas. It's not often that we hear such kind words from Mr. Anas. So, also, I think now Vinod and I are thinking we made a very trivial beginner's mistake. We showed him our slides, and he stole half the talking points. So we'll need to improvise now. But I think, listen, for us standing here, it's a real privilege. I think it's a big thank you to all of you to actually turning up today. Like he mentioned, family, friends, co-investors, founders, people from the startup ecosystem. I think it's amazing that all of you have turned up and celebrate with us this 10-year anniversary. And I think, as Anas said, I think one of the things that we do often when we talk to startups is we obviously want to know what they're trying to do with their business, right? That's important. But I think often we also want to understand what is their story, and that story is very, very important. So today, at the risk of potentially boring you guys, we have some slides. Unfortunately, we have some friends who are like McKinsey consultants and all that, so it comes with the territory, I guess. But so please do bear with us. We want to tell a little bit about how all this happened, and we'll go from there. So if someone were to ask us today, what is Konglo, right? Give us a snapshot of Konglo. Like most formal decks, I think the first slide we'd have is like the stats slide, right? So Konglo, at the heart of it, is an investor community, right? So we have around 80 people, mainly Indian diaspora, but based in over 15 countries, and a very diverse mix of people. So we have founders, we have operators, we have CXOs, we have professionals, we have execs. So very rich, diverse group of people. And in terms of our portfolio over the last 10 years, we've invested in over 20 companies and across sectors. So, EdTech, SaaS, food tech, you name it. And syndicated as a group over $7 billion the last 10 years. And also importantly, I think in terms of performance, we've been very fortunate to work with some amazing founders and companies. We've had 4 exits. We've had decent returns. Some of the companies that are still in our portfolio are doing quite well. So that's kind of the snapshot, right? That's the first slide. But that's not the story that we really wanted to kind of talk about today. And the story has to be, there has to be a flashback, like in every good story. So today is 2023, and this is the 10-year anniversary. But if you were to go back 20 years, Vinod and I, we were batchmates in REC Calicut, which became NIT Calicut by the time we graduated. So we go back a very long way. Fortunately or unfortunately, we were roommates as well for 2 years. We had a lot of, like all of us here, I think everyone can relate very strongly to their college years, right? Fond memories. We did all that, right? Goa trips, drank, got wasted more times than we can remember. But also some constructive things that we would call constructive while we were in college. We ran Adventure Club in college. There are some scapegoats who went on a trip with us here in this audience. We led our team in one of the inter-college fest. And 4 years. And after 2005, we professionally, both of us kind of went our own ways in some ways. Both of us did MBAs, but I took up a career in banking. He took up a career in management consulting. But we were always in touch. We constantly checked in on each other. I think that goes back to the fact that we were very good friends. And even after college, we had some interesting ventures. One of those was Mojo's Rising. It was a fan community page. Which
142.
142. Some super fans like the person who's managing the slides. What a lot of people thought we were having an early life crisis, or we had too much time on our hands. But we still believe, looking back, okay, we were solving some important questions of the day, like, how do you work hard and whatever. If you want to check it out, I think some of it is still there.
It's still on Facebook.
Still open for new fans.
Yeah.
But we always believed that those were efforts that kind of brought us together as a duo, in terms of starting something, in terms of building a community, whatever you may call it. And that kind of in some ways started the journey of the story that if you want to kind of talk a little bit more about it.
Sure. Thanks, Vinod. Maybe just 1 second before like, great speech, but look at that photo. This guy hasn't aged since 2005. It's like, what the hell? How do you do that, man?
Our dressing sense has evolved since then.
Cool. So I have to take you back again to our college days. So 2001 to 2005, we went to this wonderful college called REC Calicut, which, by the way, we are all here in a club which is built by REC alumni. So it was very meaningful for us. That's why we chose this event. So REC, a lot of our batchmates and juniors and seniors are here. It's kind of a mini reunion for us. Great time over there. It was a residential campus, so it forced us to, really get to know each other and bond, and we had a lot of shared memories. I really need a drink now. So after college, like Vinod said, we all went in different parts of the world, different career paths. And we still obviously checked in, and we had our WhatsApp and Facebook groups. But one thing, or let's say what would happen in these groups, right? And I'm sure you all had similar experiences in your college groups as well. So let's say someone reminisces an event or a joke, and everyone would come together and everyone would celebrate that, right? For a short time. So we'll all come together, but then it just disappears again. After some time, again, someone brings up another thing, and then again we all come together and we sort of go back to our lives. So this is, for me, something that, we observed this behavior, and that's the problem statement that we took, right? Which is, how do we find a way to stay connected and, bring that friendship back to again, or rekindle our friendship that we had in college days. And the insight that we had was, whenever we came together, we were talking about the shared memories that we had in those 4 years, right? So there's no new content being created after that. So the solution was we had to create new content. And how do we do that? We had to do something together, again, as a group, which will allow us to retain our friendship and have fun. So that's the background in which we circulated this email to our very close group of friends from college. You can see the date is February 24, 2013, so 10 years ago. And we made the case for, guys, we need to find something to do together, right? For all these good reasons, we trust each other, we have collectively a lot of skills that we have now gathered. Why don't we put all of that together and find something that we can do together? This email generated a lot of positive response. Everyone was like, yes, I'm interested, let's do something. And we actually got a lot of calls just to catch up and understand where everyone is in their lives and what have they gained over the last 8 years. So this was 2013, so 2005 we graduated, we're fast forwarding 8 years. It was also a time where everyone was starting to sort of settle in life, get married, first kid. We were in our careers as well. We also felt that we could do a lot more. A lot of us were in corporate careers, but we also felt like there's more to us. We had more potential. So I think it was this shared memories and the feeling of that we can do more in life that really sparked that interest in all of us, which led to a series of discussions and meetings over many weeks and months. And what we ended up doing is, we created this, as good engineers, we created a long list of potential things that we could do, right? And this is a really wild mix of everything under the sun. You have this leasing out cars to local taxi services in Cochin, to some cement project and 3D printing and real estate and
collecting scrap.
Yeah, collecting scrap, whatever. So it didn't matter. The topic really didn't matter to us. We just wanted to find something that we can all do together under the constraints of our current lives. So it's not like we wanted to disrupt our lives. We wanted to maintain our current lives. So that was the constraints that we applied against this list. And out of that exercise came startup investments in India as the solution. Okay? And the context of this is, because we all went outside, so Vinod was in UK, I was in Germany, we were exposed to the startup world in Europe and in US to some extent. I actually worked in a startup in Germany for a year. That was my exposure to the whole startup and venture capital world. And what was very obvious to us is, there's a lot of opportunity in India. Because once you go outside India, you see the potential for India, right? And we just figured that, look, let's just focus on investing in India, because India will get there. And more than that, we had other reasons why it made a lot of meaning for us. So it was a way for us to stay connected with India, because it will force that connection when we are investing in India. It was a way for us to give back to India in a meaningful way, because we are creating jobs. It was a way for us to experience the startup journey. Why? Because when we graduated, nobody heard of startups, but around 2013, that was the in thing to do. We didn't want to start a startup ourselves, but this was a way for us to experience the journey of a startup through the eyes of a founder. It was a way for us to leverage our skill sets that we gained through our careers and apply it somewhere else and still create value. So all of these reasons were there, along with the potential to make money, which was equally important. And I think looking back, this is why we've been able to do it consistently over the last 10 years. If it was only for the financial motive, I think we would have stopped in year 1 or year 2, right? So that's just to give you some context on the why was very strong and clear for us from the very beginning.
Yeah, so as Vinod kind of shared there, obviously we had this massive spreadsheet, we filtered it down to one big idea. But you know how it is, right? There's 10 people, 15 people who are interested in an idea. But it's easy to have an idea, but most founders here will know that, right? How do you execute that? So we kind of went back to first principles and said, okay, we need to have some basic criteria here, right? To actually execute and make this happen. So we said we need like a time commitment, a money commitment, etc. And finally that kind of 15-member group became a 3-member group in terms of actually putting the money, writing the first check. And we said, actually, you know what, let's have something on paper. And we established a firm, an LLP. And the reason why, so I don't think we spent a lot of time on deciding what the name should be. It kind of happened. But we like the idea of a conglomerate, right? So if you think about it, it can mean several different things. But in a business context, it's a portfolio of businesses. You think of Tata, Reliance, whatever. And the way we went about it also, we didn't have like one narrow path or one idea that we wanted to pick in terms of startups. So we said, we start with this, but potentially we'll have more things under our portfolio if things go well. And so the idea of a conglomerate kind of made sense. And obviously all of us are from Kerala, that's kind of our roots, right? So we said, okay, Konglo with a K might be an interesting spin on it. That was really the kind of idea behind the name. And then we came up with this logo which we thought was quite meaningful. We said, whatever we do, we need to leave an impact, and hence the thumbprint in terms of the logo. So that was the story behind the name. So we set it up in, I think, 2013. Yeah, 10 years back. And then, back to you.
So now we have a company, and you know how difficult it is to set up a company in India, Kerala back then. So we did all the legwork. How did we actually get started, right? Like, what are the first things that we did? So we didn't have any background in investments or investing, or like we come from middle class families, so we don't have backgrounds in business and so on. So the way to understand investing for us was actually through books. So we read a lot, at least one of us did. We started talking to founders. We started talking to investors and lawyers and many people in the startup ecosystem, right? And we started building our own network. So the network that we have today, that you see, has been built over time, painstakingly, one brick at a time. So it's something that we've been very, we didn't feel it was work, because it was just something that was so obvious to do. I would always be happy to talk to anyone within the startup ecosystem. So, and apart from that, we got directly involved with the founders wherever they needed help. So that was the mindset that we had, right? It was not just about putting in a check and sitting back. We wanted to help wherever we could help them. So that was also the approach that we took. And the result of that was that we got lucky with some of our early deals. So the first deal that we did, investment that we did, CareStack, some of you may know, is one of the most successful startups coming out of Kerala. And the third deal that we did, Profoundus, also where we got a first exit. Both of these deals, by the way, came through Anas. Our good friend Anas had an advisory firm in Cochin that time. So thank you, Anas, for those referrals.
And we also have Jofin from Profoundus.
Yeah, we have Jofin from Profoundus in the crowd today.
One of the founding members of the company.
And so we got lucky in terms of some success, but we also lost some money. We made some mistakes as well. The interesting thing, when we started, we said, look, this is how startups are. It's super risky asset class. We will lose money. I mean, saying that and actually losing money, different things, right? So the interesting experience for me was when it actually happened, surprisingly, we took it well. We took it well, and we kind of realized we had the stomach for playing this game long term. So that's the reason why we are here today, that we kind of understand how this is done, and obviously we have learned through our mistakes. And we were happy to share those learnings with others who also wanted to join this game. And that's how Konglo evolved. So if you, which we will talk about in a second. But basically, in the mantra is that in startup investing, you either make money or you learn. So by year 3, we had our 2 MBAs worth of learning from some of the early investments that we did. So this is, on this slide, I can spend hours on this slide, because this is 10 years in a nutshell, and each company has its own story. There's a lot of things that have happened and that we have learned, and we can have sidebar conversations on these. But for the sake of today's purposes, I'll try to break it into 3 phases, right? So there's the phase 1, the early years, when it was just a private investment firm, 3 of us, and we were literally learning by doing. So CareStack, first investment in 2013, where we got lucky. The funny thing there is, we didn't even know what the hell we were signing up for. Looking back, it was actually equity shares, and some of you know that it's now you're not supposed to do that. Okay, so fortunately, we found a very high integrity founder who took care of us. So we got the exit that we, and he basically took care of us, right? So we got lucky there for sure. There was another one in 2014 where it didn't work out, but great concept, great, let's say, founder in terms of technical capabilities, but there were some issues in terms of product market fit and so on. But the mistake that we made there was we got 30% stake in that company from the beginning. The founder offered that. So we were like, wow, 30% for 20 lakhs. Like, that sounds like a great deal. No, you're basically setting up the company for failure because it prevents future fundraising. So we learned that the hard way. In 2015, we got lucky with Vibe. Vibe is Profounders, by the way. So Profounders, that's when we actually started learning the documentation and the term sheet and all the clauses and God knows how many things we need to go through that. So that's where someone like Bobby, post that, started helping us. Bobby, if you may just stand up. He's our legal counsel, and he helps us with all the hard negotiations and so on. And we have learned a lot from him as well. So that's the first phase, right? So in those 3 years, it's just us. But in Profounders, what happened is we also had some co-investors like Robin and Robin, where are you? Yes. So Robin is a very interesting person. I have a huge respect for him because he cares so much about the Kerala startup ecosystem. He's like the emotion, you know, like when you think about Kerala startup, I always think of Robin. So we met him, we met Thomas and a few others who also joined us in Profounders. And you know, when we started talking, we were just sharing our learnings from the previous deals. So you know, it very organically led to them joining us for future deals as well. So that's how, in the second phase that you see here, it very organically evolved into a informal angel network, right? So it's loosely structured. We are not a very formal angel network with membership fees and all that. We just have a small WhatsApp group, that's all. And we'll talk about how that works. But in those years, we learned how to co-invest with other people who joined us, right? And in this journey, and investing like 1 or 2 deals a year. I think around 2018 we slowed down a little bit because we also diversified. So I started investing in real estate in the US. Vinod, you were looking at crypto and stock, and Robin was looking at stocks actually. So nevertheless, we were still in the market. We were always talking to founders. So that is one thing that we have consistently kept on doing, talking to founders every week. And I think that has compounded over the last 10 years, where I think we have spoken to more than 1,000 founders, and it's given this huge data set of characteristics and, you know, ability to see patterns, and we kind of get a sense of what a successful setup looks like for investment purposes. So that's the second phase. And then the third phase is, I think around late 2019, early 20, there was just more interest in angel networks or angel investments. A lot of people started reaching out. So the group really grew to around 70 plus today, where we are today. It's in all over the place around, it's Indian diaspora largely. And we did a whole lot of deals. We did different kinds of deals. So not just early stage, we did late stage, we did syndicate deals on Let's Venture. We invested in a couple of funds. We
went global companies.
Yeah, we invested in companies which are outside India as well, right? So we experimented a lot and diversified as well. And today, in 2023, where we are is, we've launched a venture capital fund earlier this year. So there's some background to that in terms of why it is, I mean, we always wanted to launch a fund, but from an angel network perspective, one of the things that we learned is, as the number of people grow, we are all investing directly on the cap table, and it gets really clunky, you know, and it's not ideal for the company to have so many people on the cap table. So we need to be more organized. One of the founders where we got an exit which is Able, we'll play the video later. He talks about the entire journey there of what happened, and I think it is super relevant for founders and investors who are in the room today to understand what is the reality, because we only see the hype and the glory and the glamour of startup investments, right, in the media, but in reality what is actually happening on the ground. And Isle is a case where we invested in 2 rounds, we got an exit when they were acquired, but just to give you a sense of what actually happens behind the scenes, we'll play a video from Able. So this is where we are today. We have a fund in which a lot of our angel investors are LPs in our fund, limited partners in our fund. It's a $4 million fund that Anas and I are running together. It's based out of the US. And we hope to launch a second fund in 2 years, which is going to be around 30 to 50 million. That's sort of where the fund ambition is right now. And this is where we are in our current journey.
So yeah, just moving on. I think something kind of worth talking about. I think Vinod briefly touched upon earlier. I think most of our I think before I get to that, so like he said, I think our community strength grew, right? So initially 3, then 20, and now we have around 75 people. But it's still at the heart of it, it's just one WhatsApp group. It's a WhatsApp group which we like to say, like I said at the beginning, right? There's startup founders, there's people who've exited multiple startups, there's CXOs, professional execs, whoever. So, and there's also people who are like relative newbies in the startup world, but it's a safe space, right? It's for everyone to kind of learn, share, grow together. And I think that's an important ingredient for people to kind of say that, they belong to this platform and they want the platform and everyone in the platform to actually grow. So we have a WhatsApp group, and then it's because the network has grown so much, we have people from across the globe. We get leads from members within the community. I mean, Jitu sitting right there is a great example of one such member. So it's a great opportunity for us also to get exposure beyond just Kerala and India, the kind of exposure that we see. And our Saturdays, I think our wives might disagree, but something we really look forward to, because that's when we have these Zoom calls, and like we share a lead, and then we have a call with the founders, and whoever's interested can jump on a call, and then we have a debrief after that. It's again like just an exchange of so many ideas and different perspectives. And the interesting bit is, initially it is 3 of us trying to break our head over an idea, but now there's people who actually know what happens with some of those companies, so that actually really helps as well. And so it's a very engaging and atmosphere for everybody involved. And even the group itself, we don't always just talk about deals or leads, we talk about what's topical. I think when the Silicon Valley Bank issue happened 2 months back, I think all of us learned so much about banking and the US environment and everything, because everyone was kind of vested and into it. So it's become a very kind of fertile group for people to exchange ideas. And again, like I said, a safe space, which I think is very, very important. And I think one thing, just to kind of finish up, like I think you mentioned earlier, it's not a group that we've actively gone out and said, let's just increase the size of the group, make it 1,000 people. Because if it was, then this ethos wouldn't exist, right? So it's grown organically. And I think when we talk to someone who's interested, there's only 2 things basically we look at, right? One is you need to have a genuine interest in investing. Either you want to invest or you've been investing. That's important. And secondly, I think you need to engage. It shouldn't just be take something out of the group. We want you to give.
Yeah,
also.
We have an annual culling process where we kick out members who don't engage.
Yeah, and again, it's very it's only fair, we believe. At the end of the day, it's important, right? Because we're all really vested into it. So if you want to join, then please do engage. So again, it's been a very organic growth story for us. And that's really how we operate in terms of...
Yeah, maybe just on the third column here. So as the group grew, and we have the main chat, which is generally everything about investments and startups. And it's a very focused group, by the way. We don't send random forwards and things like that. It's a super focused group. Like members of Konglo can attest to that. But we notice that we also start subgroups for a specific deal when there's a deal going on. but there was just so much to keep track of. So we created a small website where we can just track all the deal information. So the thing with this is it's very asynchronous, right? And people are all over the place and remote, so not everyone can join a pitch call. So they can go in and take a look at this whenever they want and see the details, the deck and the recording, and then they can decide if they want to invest or not. So that's how we've sort of scaled a little bit or optimized our timing, because otherwise, we would be spending a lot of time talking to the other members in Konglo, explaining the opportunity as well. So that's how we've managed to optimize some of our processes around investment.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, I think when you talk about Konglo starting from the first slide to now, I think now what Konglo is, we believe it's many things for many people, right? So it's an investment firm, like I said, it's a safe space, it's a channel to invest. Obviously, that's the core purpose. It's a forum to share and learn. It's a really remote, virtual angel network. And I think the last point is particularly important and kind of goes back to the whole name of Konglo as well. It's a fertile ground. So we believe we have a fertile ground now. We might need Busher's help with some farming on it. But our idea is, listen, we think we know this space a little bit, but startups is one thing that we can do as a group, but there's several other possibilities. And in fact, some members of our group have started a podcast on startups. A few of us have been toying with the idea of making a movie. We have that. We delved into crypto and Web3 and got out of it as soon as everything kind of went bust. But I think the idea is we have an umbrella. We have, a tree on firm ground. So there are other things that we could do as a group. And that's our hope for the future as well in some ways in terms of where we could potentially take this. So I think that's something that we want to leave behind with everyone. In fact, one request we do have is because we have such an amazing set of people in this room, we've left a notepad and a pen. Please do share with us as well, right? What do you think a network like this could do more of, right? Or what else you would like, or any feedback on the slides, whatever.
The slides were all made by Vaishak, by the way. Thank you, Vaishak, for your huge help. 1 week ago, we had a very different deck, and then he just tore it apart. So. No, so we would appreciate if you have any idea, suggestions, just write it and mention your name, and we can have a chat later about it.
Yeah, and that's our network. I mean, that's pretty much everyone who's. I mean, a lot. Most of them couldn't make it. We have a few people in the audience today, but that's really what the community is that's grown over the years. So thank you again.